Turning now to some news from Germany. Chancellor Olaf Scholz is rallying his party faithful at an SPD party congress in Berlin. He faces an uphill battle for re-election in a snap federal election due on February 23rd. The party is slumping in the polls and hoping to spark its election campaign. Chancellor Scholz has governed for 3 years in a coalition with the Greens and the business-friendly FDP. The government collapsed in November. So we can take a listen to some of what Chancellor Scholz had to say.
Was everything good in these 3 years? No. Was everything bad? No. But now it's about the future. Today I stand here as your candidate for Chancellor to thank you for all your support, for your solidarity over the years. That means a lot to me. And we now want to build on this for the future.
For more, we're joined now by DW's chief political correspondent, Nina Hase, who's at the SPD party convention here in Berlin. Nina, the latest polls show the SPD in third place. Does Olaf Scholz actually have any chance of remaining chancellor?
Well, he certainly believes that. I mean, it's only 43 days before Germans go to the polls. Olaf Scholz is currently behind his rivals from the Conservatives and also from the far-right AfD party. But he always reminds his people here that you shouldn't believe too much in what the polls say a few weeks before the elections. And he reminds everybody that back in 2021, this was a similar scenario, and he then ended up still taking the chancellery. So he hasn't given up. He says it's over when it's over. Now, of course, this is a very short election campaign, not a lot of time to catch up. Also, it's winter, ugly weather, nasty weather out there. People who do the campaigning and try to address people in the streets have it really tough. Nevertheless, Olaf Scholz also says that internationally the situation is extremely serious, and he knows that Germans do say that they want change, but then I think that he's pinning his hopes on the fact that Germans say these things and then still do want some sort of stability. And of course he has been the German Chancellor, but he's also been in office as finance minister, so he has a lot of experience dealing with international crises. But I think the main hope for him is that people will just not like the Conservative candidate Friedrich Merz too much, and that is the biggest stress that he's making in all his speeches.
Tell us a little bit more about Friedrich Merz, if you will. If you believe the polls, he is the man who appears at the moment to be the most likely to be the next chancellor, of course, from the conservative CDU party. What does he offer voters that Scholz doesn't?
Well, the two have one thing in common, Olaf Scholz and Friedrich Merz, and that is they can't stand each other. So they are very different when it comes to personality, and they really do not get on well. This is something where Olaf Scholz, in his speech today, stressed that Friedrich Merz, he wanted to paint the picture of the richest 1% guy compared to himself, the German Chancellor, who is there for the ordinary people. Now, if that's one expression that international observers will have to learn in German, die ganz normalen Leute, I think, was mentioned about 15, if not more times in this speech.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that. That's DW's chief political correspondent, Nina Hase, at the SPD party convention in Berlin. Well, our reporter went to the city of Bochum in western Germany, and the situation for the Social Democrats is somewhat different there because the party enjoys more support. In the party's local association, the party chairman is well known, as is the candidate for the German parliament. Proximity to voters is the SPD's recipe for success in Bochum.
Even before the Bundestag election campaign, Jörg Lafzide's days are already packed. The SPD chairman of the Bochum-Hamme local association is at a senior citizens meeting because pension policy is part of the Social Democrats' DNA.
In order to do politics, in this case at a local level, you have to know the people, their worries and needs. It starts here, then it goes over to the soccer club, then it goes into the gardens or somewhere else, and then to the retirement home.
Getting things done instead of talking is his motto. The senior citizens also jokingly call him King Jörg, because everyone here knows him. For Bochum's Social Democrats, being close to the people is their recipe for success. That's why the unapproachable Olaf Scholz wasn't their preferred candidate for Chancellor at the beginning.
Our dear Olaf was not always so happy in his performance. You shouldn't dwell on it anymore. You shouldn't bemoan it. We must now move forward and be done with it. We now have this candidate, and that's the end of the matter for me.
Here in Bochum, where coal and steel once ensured modest prosperity, 1 in 3 people still vote for the SPD. Unlike elsewhere in the country, where the party is at around 15%. Citizens meeting with Jörg Lafzidis and Serdar Yüksel, member of the state parliament, in an allotment garden. 2 young men want to join the SPD today. Bundestag candidate Serdar Yüksel is confident of winning a direct mandate. He hopes that the SPD will turn its attention back to the issues that are important to the people, like jobs, pensions and rent. Otherwise, he sees black for the democratic parties. He fears that right-wing parties are likely to benefit.
It's not just about the politics of the next 4 years. It's about the continued existence of democracy. That must be clear to everyone. Regardless of the coalition, whatever comes together in Berlin, they must actually know that they don't have too many bullets left in the barrel. That would perhaps be the order of the day in federal politics. Talking straight and then wiping your mouth and moving on, and then being there for the people and listening.
Jörg Lafzidis wants to convince voters that only his party, the SPD, cares about the little people before the federal election at the end of February. He's certain that a little more Bochum would be good for federal politics.